All right guys, let's go ahead and quickly have a closer look at everything that comes included with the kit. So starting off with the 4K PTZ camera itself, which does support HDMI, SDI, and along with NDI as well. We're going to get more familiar with all the connections and all the specs and features about this camera throughout the course of this video. For now, let's just go ahead and see what comes included with the kit. Over here, we do have the power supply to power the camera by just simply plugging it into the wall. We do also have included an RS-232 cable. Here we have a wall mount, which is made out of metal, nice and solid. And here we have actually a ceiling mount as well. So we can mount it on the wall, onto the ceiling, or on a tripod, table, desk, whatever you want. We do have multiple different options, and along with the hardware to be able to mount it to the wall and to the ceiling. And we do have a quick start guide with this remote control as well. So let's go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with this PTZ camera, with all the specs and features, and also with the connections that we have over here at the back of the camera. So having a closer look over here at the back of the PTZ camera and all the connections that we have, starting off onto the left-hand side, we do have the DC input 12 volts to supply power to the camera. Next to that, we do have the LAN network connection, which is supporting PoE, power over Ethernet. Over here, we do have a 3G SDI output, 1080p. Over here, we do have an HDMI output, which does support the 4K 30 frames per second. Next to that, we do have a USB port. Over here, we do have an RS-232 input and output. And on the right-hand side over here, we do have an RS-485 422, and we do have an audio input, which is a 3.5 millimeter. And finally, over here at the very bottom corner, we do have the slot for the micro SD card, because this camera does support internal recording. All right guys, so I have the PTZ camera powered on right now. I do also have a network cable connected to the back of the camera to supply an IP address, and I am taking advantage of the HDMI output from the camera, which is going to this external monitor, which you guys are looking at right now. And I'm filming this setup with my mirrorless camera. And the reason why I've specifically set this up for this video is so that we can go ahead and have a closer look at the menu settings that we're going to be able to access with this wireless remote controller over here. So let's just go ahead and briefly have a closer look. I'm going to press the menu button here on the remote controller, and as you see onto the top left hand side, we do have all of these different settings that we can kind of go through. So let's start off top left hand side, the camera option, and underneath the camera option we do have the exposure settings, the color, and the image. So let's just briefly go ahead and look at this. Underneath the mode for the exposure, I'm currently using manual exposure. We do have an option to set it to SAE along with AAE and auto exposure as well, and then back to manual. So back to manual over here, you can see that we do have the gain option, which is basically like the ISO on your camera. It's going to either make it brighter or darker. I would suggest to leave the gain as low as possible if you can, and adjust your other settings accordingly. So right now, let's just go back to gain number 1. As far as the shutter, fantastic. We can obviously adjust the shutter. I'm actually recording right now at 1080p, 60 frames per second. Fantastic. So therefore, now I can adjust my shutter to double the frame rate. As you see, I have it set to 1/120. And here we have the iris, so basically the aperture. Right now, I currently have it set to f4.0, but we can go ahead and actually bring this down. Let's see how far down we can go, f1.6, which is really nice to allow a lot of light in for low lighting environments. So let's back out of the exposure settings and see what other options we have over here as far as the color, which is basically our white balance. So currently right now, I have it set to various white balance, which basically allows me to set the white balance that I want to adjust to. So we got all of these different options from 3000K all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. So basically I just set mine to 5500K, which is basically the same color temperature of the lights that I'm using. We can also adjust the saturation and hue. And coming back over here down to image, we have the style, so we can set it to default, for an example, normal, clarity, bright, soft, and beautify. I'm just going to leave mine to default. We can adjust the brightness, the contrast, sharpness, the gamma, and the noise reduction, 2D and 3D. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with the camera settings, let's back out of here. Let's take a look at the video options. So let's enter the format over here. And as you can see, as I was talking about, I am recording at 1080p 60 frames per second, but we do have a bunch of different options over here, all the way up to 4K 30 frames per second, and as low as 720p at 50 frames per second. So let's just go back over here to where we had it, 1080p at 60. Okay, so now let's go over here to the menu direction so we can actually rotate the menu direction. I'm just going to go ahead and briefly give you a quick little example. So depending on your layout, I guess, of your camera, your orientation, you could go ahead and flip the direction of the menu, and we can actually flip the image basically horizontally or vertically depending on how we have the camera mounted, maybe to the ceiling or to the wall or whatever meets your needs. So let's back out of here. Let's go next to PTZ, and over here PTZ we do have some controls as far as the pan speed, the tilt speed, the zoom speed, digital zoom. We can actually go ahead and turn it on if we want to, and we can bring it all the way up to, I believe it's 12 times digital zoom. So just to kind of go ahead and give you guys a quick little example here, just toggling it up, I'm just going to bring it back to off, or bring it back to the lowest settings and turn the digital zoom off. As far as the focus speed, we do have an option all the way from 1 all the way up to 10. I've been trying out different settings, and so far the middle setting of about 5 to 8 or so seems like it's pretty good for my needs. Focus mode, I do have it set to autofocus. So yes, the camera is using autofocus right now, but we do have manual focus, one push focus, and back to auto over here. And we can also choose the zone that we want for that autofocus. I have it set to center because usually my subjects are into the center of the frame, but we can have it set to bottom, left, right, or all autofocus zone. So I like to have mine set to center. And the left and right mode. So basically when you're operating the PTZ camera, when you want to go left or right, is it actually going to go left when you press left, or do you want it to go right when you press right? Or you can go ahead and change that right over there. So I'm going to leave it at standard, which I normally do. Next, we have focus sensitivity. So right now you can see I have it set to medium, but we do have an option to set it to low, ultra low, high, or medium. I'm just going to leave mine at medium. So these are all the settings that we have over here as far as the PTZ. Next, let's go over here to setup options. So here we have the configuration for the VSCA address, the Pelco D and Pelco P, the baud rate, and along with the LAN connection and the port. So let's just briefly go ahead into the LAN. You can see that we do have the DHCP enabled, which is basically automatically detecting the IP address, or we can go ahead and turn it off. In my case, I like to use the DHCP on. It just kind of makes things nice and easy. So other than that, we do also have the port information depending on what protocol you want to use. We have all of that information there. Let's go to the next option over here. Let's back out of the menu so we can restore back to default. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it as is. System information. So we have the IR address. I like to leave this at 1 because that is the remote control address, so it can communicate. And as far as the network, we can go ahead and open this up and it tells you all of this information. So this is actually a really nice feature over here, this QR code. So just to go ahead and briefly show you guys, I can actually scan this QR code with my phone, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to scan the QR code, and bang, it brings up the IP address, and look what it's going to do. It's going to bring me to this login page, web page, that's going to give me a view, a live view of the camera and all of these controls, basically the same controls that we have here in the menu. I'm going to be able to do right here onto my phone, and then some. So we even have settings over here as well that we can go ahead and configure. So this is really nice feature, to be honest with you. And check this out. I can fully move the camera around if I want to as well, right over here with this joystick. So let's back out of the network settings, and we have the version information. So just for clarity. And finally, we do have the language to select from in the menu. So overall, guys, as you guys can see, the menu is actually really easy to navigate and go through and select all of these different settings. I say now we go ahead and take a look at the software for this PTZ camera and along with the Webpage, because it's basically going to be very similar that we have over here on our mobile phones, and even more controls and settings. So let's go ahead and have a look on our PC. All right, guys, so here we are onto the PC, and I do have OBS opened up over here. And one of the first things that I want to show you guys is how to connect this PTZ camera to OBS wirelessly using NDI. So one of the first things that we're going to want to do, for an example, is come over here to Chrome. We want to open up a new tab, and over here into the search bar, we want to enter the camera's IP address. Again, don't forget, we did connect a network cable to the PTZ camera, which is supplying a network IP address. So just go ahead and enter that IP address here into the search bar. I'm just going to go ahead and paste it and press enter, and it brings us to the Zowietek login page, where it ask for your username and the password. So by default, the username is admin and the password is also admin, ADMIN. So just go ahead and log in. So here we are on the Zowietek webpage, which is going to give us full control of this PTZ camera and along with a bunch of different settings. We're going to have a closer look at this shortly, but first let's just focus on how to connect this PTZ camera to our PC and OBS via NDI. So let's go ahead and jump into the settings over here. I want to show you one of the other settings you just want to make sure is on. So we're going to come over here to the left-hand side into the streaming tab. Underneath streaming, we want to come down over here to NDI, and you want to make sure that NDI is enabled. As you see, it is turned on over here, and you also can go ahead and adjust the quality of that NDI. I'm using HX3, and the device name, all of this other information here, I just leave it as default. You just want to go ahead and press save if you made any changes over here, and you may need to actually reboot the camera if you were just enabling it for the first time so it can actually recognize it. So now that we've done everything that we need to do over here onto the web page, we can actually come back now to OBS. And for us to add this PTZ camera as an NDI source, we want to come over here underneath sources. We're going to add a new source by clicking on this plus icon. And from this drop down menu, we want to click on NDI source as an input. We can go ahead and give it a new name if we would like to. I'm just going to leave it as is. Click on OK. And here underneath the properties page, source name, we want to come to this drop down menu and find the Zowietek PTZ camera, which is listed over here. So let's just go ahead and click on it. I'm going to leave all of these other settings to default and just click on OK. And bingo, just like that, now we have a video feed coming from this PTZ camera via NDI, and you guys can see for yourself the video image quality from this PTZ camera. I'm going to say that this is probably like a low light scenario over here. So overall, this is what it looks like in possibly a low light setting. Let's go ahead and have a closer look at some other additional things as far as the audio. So you'll notice into the audio mixer here, into the middle towards the bottom, I am currently using this XLR microphone. You can see the audio level meter going up and down, but I do also have the NDI source audio as well. As you can see, it is muted. So why don't I just go ahead and briefly turn down the microphone that I'm currently using, and then we'll turn up the microphone that I have connected to the PTZ camera. Okay, so this is the audio coming from the PTZ camera. I actually have two wireless microphones on me right now. The one that you guys are listening to is the Lark M2, the Hollyland Lark M2 wireless microphone. The receiver is actually just connected to the back of the PTZ camera as the audio input. And I have the transmitter right over here just clipped onto my shirt, which has an internal microphone. And therefore, now I'm getting audio from this PTZ camera wirelessly via NDI. So that is really nice that we're not just getting a video signal, but we're also getting audio as well. Now what the game plan is, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this a little bit. I'm going to probably leave myself onto the bottom left hand side, little picture in picture here. And what we want to do is come back over here to the web page and just briefly go through the web page over here so you guys can get a little bit more familiar. So right now we are currently in the live view tab, which is giving us a preview, as you see over here, of what the PTZ camera is looking at. So one thing I wanted to point out, this preview that we're looking at over here in this preview window is not the high quality video image. It only looks like it's maybe about 720p or so. Just to go ahead and briefly show you guys the difference between that preview and now over here with the actual NDI feed coming from the PTZ camera to OBS. So you can see the video quality is much higher with the NDI source versus the preview that we get in the web page. But again, the preview in the web page is more or less just like, just as a reference for an example. Okay, so let's come back over here to the web page. So again, as we are into the live tab, let's take a look at some of these options that we have over here briefly. So at the very top over here, you can see that we do have some text that is listed. Starting off with the live, you can see that we have these 5 red buttons. And basically, once we have configured within the settings tab, we've configured the social media platforms that we want to live stream to. These are basically the shortcut keys to enable that live stream nice and easy from the live page. Next over here, we do have this record tab with these 5 buttons, and basically we can assign within the settings 5 different devices that we could potentially record to. As you can see, I do have one assigned over here, which is the micro SD card, and that micro SD card is inserted at the back of the PTZ camera, which is going to allow me to press record, and now it's going to be recording onto the PTZ camera micro SD card, which is really nice. Next over here, we have the OSD on-screen display. So basically we do have some features within the settings that's going to allow us to enable some text overlays, some image overlays, and along with some scoreboard. So we can do that all within the settings page, which is actually, in my opinion, a really nice feature. I do not own any other PTZ camera that has this feature. I just kind of find that it's very helpful and easy that everything can kind of be done from the web page. So let's go ahead and continue. Next over here, pretty self-explanatory. We do have a bunch of buttons as far as the exposure, the focus, the white balance, the noise reduction, the shutter speed, the iris, the pan speed, tilt speed, zoom speed, and focus speed, etc. So we can control the camera right over here nice and easily. Next over here, we do have these 10 buttons over here, which are blank right now because we can go ahead and actually assign 10 different presets, or I wouldn't be surprised that we can actually assign a lot more, but we do have 10 buttons currently right now. So basically you just want to go ahead and position the camera with this joystick controller that we have over here towards the bottom. So let's say we want to position the camera over here. We're happy with this positioning. Next, what you want to do is just come over here where it says these digits 254, just go ahead and delete it and basically enter preset number 1 because that is my first preset that I want to save, basically just giving it a name. And now you want to press this plus icon over here, or any one of these plus icons for that matter, but in my opinion, pressing this first one or assigning preset number 1 to this first one just makes the most sense. So now let's go ahead and click on this and bingo, there we are. We've just assigned preset number 1. Let's go ahead and do another preset by using the zoom feature over here. So let's just go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Let's maybe move it a little bit over to the left, tilt it up a little bit. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and delete number 1 here in that box, and we're gonna put number 2. And now let's save that preset number 2 right over there, and bingo. So now I can just go ahead and press any one of these presets. For an example, here's preset 1, and here's preset 2. And I can continue and going on even more and more. And you guys obviously just saw the zoom controls that we have over here to basically zoom out or to zoom in. It's really nice and easy to use. Onto the left-hand side over here, we do have an F and an N, which is basically going to allow us to do our manual focus controls. So right now it's not allowing me to do anything because I have it set to autofocus. But just to go ahead and briefly explain and show you guys, demonstrate, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the manual focus. And now I have control with the slider over here, depending on what I want to focus on. And for fine tuning adjustments, I can just go ahead and click on the N or the F to basically just kind of fine tune it with a little bit more adjustments so we can get it right on the money. And if you guys have not noticed, we also do have this joystick over here within the PTZ controls, so we can use the arrows along the edge perimeter, but we can also use this joystick. I will just briefly point out, in my opinion, I feel like this joystick is a little bit too sensitive and a little bit too fast. I prefer to just use the arrows, but I will quickly go ahead and just demonstrate so you guys can see. So let me just go ahead and maybe let's pan to the left. I'm going to try to go as slow as I can. Again, maybe I need some practice, but here we go. Let's go to the pan left for a bit. Okay, let's go to the right. Let's try to frame myself up a little bit. All right, that's not too bad. Let's tilt up, let's tilt down. Let's go to the left. Let's try to position myself. So as you can see, it's not really that easy to do. Maybe it's just because of the mouse, or maybe a firmware update might be able to fix this, or even just simply some practice. But overall, we do have multiple options as far as controlling the pan, tilt, and the zoom. So hopefully you guys are more familiar with the live view page. I say now we go ahead and jump into the settings tab over here and briefly have a closer look. So now that we're in the settings tab, onto the left hand side here, I want to bring your attention. We do have the dashboard, which we are currently in, which is basically giving us all of this information as far as all of our settings and currently what we have set onto the PTZ camera. So this is a nice page to come and reference. Next over here, we'll come to the camera. Let's click underneath camera, the image. And what it's going to do is give us a preview, obviously, because we need to adjust our image. So right now we're currently in the exposure tab if you look onto the right-hand side, but we do have control from the focus, the zoom, exposure, the color, the image, noise reduction, and style. Next over here underneath PTZ, we have the PTZ settings as far as the baud rate, VSCA address, the Pelco D address, Pelco P, and the IR remote channel. Next over here, we do have the tally light settings. As you can see, I do currently have it enabled. It is turned on, and the mode that I'm using is manual mode. We do have the option from auto and tally as well, but in manual mode, which I like to use, we can basically turn the light off, the tally light off on the camera, or we can turn it to a red, or we can turn it to a green, depending on your needs. So overall, auto, manual, and tally are the three options that we have over here for the tally settings. Next, let's come over here to video. So for encoder, we have our mainstream settings and our secondary stream. Again, as far as the codec, H.264, H.265, the profile, we have a few options there as well. The resolution, the rate control, bit rate, frame rate, etc. And same thing goes for the secondary stream. So if you did make any changes over here, again, don't forget to press save. Next, let's take a look at the output. Currently, right now, we are using 1080p 60 frames, but if I wanted to, we can go all the way up to 4K 30 or as low as 720 50. And also we can mute the audio if we would like to. Next over here, this is where we were talking about those overlay graphics, the on-screen display. So for an example, you can see that everything kind of looks blank over here. So just briefly explaining this to you guys, if you want to add a new canvas to add some overlays, you can go ahead and give it a name. So let's go with new 1, that's the name. We'll go with the size of that canvas. We're going to go with 1920 by 1080, and let's go ahead and confirm. So now over here underneath the canvas drop down, you can see that I have that one listed over here that I just created. Perfect. And now what do I want to do is either add text, add an image, or add a scoreboard. So I think the most interesting, at least to me, would be to add a scoreboard. So let's go ahead and basically just give you guys a quick look. So here is a scoreboard graphic, and we have some text over here that we can fully manipulate. For an example, let's write in semi-finals. Okay, and we want to change the color of that, for an example, like red. Let's go ahead and click OK. And let's say we want the font to be, yes, bold. We want the font size to maybe be like a little bit bigger. And maybe we want the background to be like a blue color, for an example. Okay, so the background is going to be blue. And it's going to fade to, let's say, maybe like, I don't know, we'll go with like a black color towards the bottom as well. So there you go. We got a little fade happening over there. And now what we want to do is click on the team A for an example. So team A, what team is that going to be? That's going to be Canada. Let's go with capitals over here. Canada. Boom. All right, good. And what color text do we want? We can change that if we want. We can just leave that as is. Let's go to team B. So Canada, who are they playing today? Canada is playing USA. Perfect, looking good. And we can change the color and size of the text. So we're good with that. So now let's say, you can see we have these white boxes on either side. So we can actually click on these white boxes and we can add an image. So Team Canada, I want to load the Canada flag, and bingo, I just did that. So now I want to come over here to Team USA, and I also want to add American flag. Perfect, let's go to confirm. Beautiful. It's telling me the name length should be, so I didn't give it a name. So let's go with soccer game. Perfect. 1. Soccer game 1. Let's go to confirm. Bingo, we're grooving. So you can see now I have this canvas and I can position the scoreboard anywhere I want to. So let's say maybe that scoreboard's a little bit too small. Let's go back over here and edit it, and we can go ahead and scale this up a little bit more. Okay, beautiful. Looking good. Let's go to confirm. Bingo. So now we got a bigger scoreboard, position it there at the top or anywhere we want. So for us to go ahead and display and enable this scoreboard over here onto my live stream or recording, what we need to press next over here is the start button. So let's go ahead and press start. Okay, and it gives me a confirmation message that it is now being displayed. It is actually being displayed onto your live stream. And just to go ahead and give you an example, if I come over here to OBS and I make this image bigger, which is basically the NDI, you can see that now it is being displayed over here onto my live stream or to my recording, which is really nice. So if you want to go ahead and simply hide the scoreboard because you don't want to present it anymore, you can just go ahead and click on this eye icon over here, which is going to go ahead and turn it off. And again, if you need to make any adjustments, you just simply click on this edit button and you can make all the adjustments as you want. So why don't we make an adjustment to the score? So Canada looks like they just scored 1 goal, and the USA also looks like they just scored 1 goal. So we got a tie game. Let's go ahead and confirm. Bingo, looking good. Let's go ahead and display the new score. Fantastic. Another edit that I wanted to briefly make, we have this 0.0 over here. So this could be possibly maybe the time or the half or the period or whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure, but what I want to do is not show that. So I want to go ahead and disable that specific number graphic there towards the bottom. Let's go ahead and press confirm. Bingo. So now it is not being displayed in my graphic. Fantastic. So at any time, if I want to just kind of hide it, just go ahead and hide that graphic. So now that you guys are more familiar with the OSD settings and options and features that we have over here, let's go ahead and continue on to the left-hand side here, the audio tab. So we have audio enabled, good stuff. We can adjust the format, sampling rate, the bit rate, the channel, the volume, and the source input as well as far as line in, mic in, or USB. Let's come over here to streaming. So we have the local setting, local stream. So we can go ahead and see the IP address for the mainstream and substream, and we can copy these information if we need to. Next over here, we do have the live option. So if you want to add your social media platforms to live stream, you just go ahead and click on this add button. And over here, we have some options as far as the servers or the service that we want to use. So I'm going to be using YouTube. So what I want to do next is go ahead and enable my live stream over here, but it's telling me, please close the NDI before proceeding to stream operation. So we're going to have to come over here to NDI and actually disable this. So let's go ahead and turn off NDI. Let's just go ahead and press save. Perfect. So now let's go back to live. Let's go ahead and turn on the live stream. And now you can see that it's actually enabled. It's turned on. It's showing me that I'm online, and it's also displaying my kilobits per second. So what I'm going to do is click on this go live button over here, and it's going to open up this YouTube live streaming studio page, which is going to start sending that video stream to YouTube. And bingo, just like that, we have our YouTube live stream right over here. We can go to the quality settings, quality 1080p 60, looking good. So now let's just go ahead and end this live stream over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and end live stream, confirm. Yes, I want to end it. Perfect. So now that we're done with the live stream, let's come back over here to the web page. So now that you guys are more familiar with that, let's just go ahead and turn off the live streaming feature. So let's go to the next option over here, which is record. So over here, you can see that I've already configured to record to the micro SD card that I've inserted. So before I go ahead and enable and start the recording, I want to come over here and just kind of go through some of these settings that we have available to us. So basically the SD card name, we can split the file duration either in size or by time. I usually like to set it to time and set it to 30 minutes or so. And we can also configure the format of that video as well. So we're pretty much all done. We can save those settings. We can minimize those settings. And now we can go ahead and enable the recording. It's actually going to start recording to the SD card, and along with the recording time, it's showing that it's green and it's counting up. So it is recording right now to that SD card. So for an example, if we're done recording, let's just go ahead and press pause. Perfect. Let's go ahead and turn off the recording. Looking good. So the recording is turned off. So the other thing I wanted to briefly show you is we come over here to the video file. We can click on this little icon, and this is basically going to be all the video files that I recorded to that micro SD card, and we can go ahead and download it or just simply view it, or we can go ahead and delete it. So this is actually a really nice feature to be able to record directly to the PTZ camera. Okay, so now that we're done with this, let's just go ahead and minimize that. Let's move along over here to the NDI. So as you guys saw earlier, we did have the NDI enabled. Currently, I do have it set to off. Let's just go ahead and turn it on one more time. Let's just go ahead and press save. Good stuff. So now that it is enabled, we're good to go. So let's move along over here to the network settings. So over here in the network settings, as you see, I do have it set to DHCP, which is going to automatically detect the IP address. Here we have the hotspot setting configuration, Wi-Fi, along with the port, MDNS, and the NAS storage devices as well. Let's come over here to system. Underneath the system, we can obviously change the theme, the language, the device name, the working mode, NDI, the user, the time, the default, any firmware upgrades, you can do that right over here. At the time of making this video, this is the firmware that I'm currently using right now, and any logs will be saved over here. So guys, hopefully now you're a little bit more familiar with the web page to control this PTZ camera and go through all of those settings. But I also want to share with you guys briefly the Zowietek software for this PTZ camera as well. That's going to give us the same amount of control. Just to go ahead and get you guys a little bit more familiar, let's go ahead and check it out. So let's minimize myself over here to the bottom corner, picture in picture, and we're going to come over here to my desktop. Okay, and on my desktop, I do have the software icon right here. So I just double clicked on it. It's opening up the software and it's scanning for the cameras, and bingo, it found that PTZ camera that I'm using. And what I want to do is just come over here to the gear icon and click on that. And what that's going to do, it's going to open up the software login page. Same idea, username admin and password also admin. Go ahead and log in. And as you guys can see, it pretty much looks exactly the same that we have on the web page. It's pretty much all the same controls that we have over here. We have all the same settings that we have over here. And one other cool feature I wanted to just briefly share with you guys, right over here to the top left-hand side, we do have the Zowietek little logo over here. If we go ahead and click on that, that's going to actually open up to their website, which we can go ahead and just kind of navigate through whatever products. But in my case, what I'm recommending is to actually just click on the PTZ camera, the product that you have, and you can come over here to the download page and you can go ahead and download the specs, a quick start guide, the user manual, or the firmware. And that's exactly what I did. I came over here and downloaded and installed the latest firmware. Check this out. We can actually control this PTZ camera with an Xbox controller by just simply connecting the Xbox controller to our PC via a USB cable. As you guys saw, we can tilt up, we can tilt down, we can pan either left or right. We can actually also zoom in and zoom out. So right here from the Xbox controller, I really feel like this is a fantastic feature. I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of this. And we can also control the manual focus. So currently right now I am using autofocus. Overall, great job with this feature. I really do like that one. I'm pretty impressed with this. Well guys, it looks like we reached that time of the video to give you my overall thoughts and opinion of this PTZ camera. If you guys cannot tell already throughout the course of this video, I'm actually impressed with all of the controls and features that we have available to us. The HDMI output, the SDI output, the NDI, the micro SD card recording along with other storage devices, 4K 30 frames per second, maximum 1080p 60, and also the 25 times optical zoom with this camera, and along with the 12 times digital zoom. I think this PTZ camera is a fantastic option along with the web page and even the Xbox controller and the software. All of these features, the kind of list just kind of goes on. I'm definitely impressed with it. If you guys are in the market for a PTZ camera that has some of these features, I definitely think it's a good option, guys. So overall, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you do have any questions or comments, let me know down in the comment section down below. And obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys onto the next video. Till next time, peace.